There is a war happening around you every single day, and most people are losing it without even knowing they've entered the battlefield. It's not a war fought with weapons or armies. It's a war fought with words, reactions, and emotions. And every time you snap back at someone who disrespects you, every time you feel compelled to justify your decisions to people who never asked for your opinion in the first place, every time you let someone else's chaos pull you off your center, you hand them your power on a silver platter. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this better than almost anyone who ever lived. Centuries before modern psychology, before neuroscience, before self-help existed as an industry, he was mapping out the hidden architecture of human influence. He understood that the most powerful people in any room are rarely the loudest. They are the most composed, the most deliberate, the most strategic. Today, we're going to go deep into 7 dark psychology principles drawn from Machiavellian philosophy. Principles that will change the way you move through the world. These are not tricks for manipulating others. They are tools for reclaiming control over yourself, your energy, and your presence. So let's begin. Trick number 1, never react to the unworthy. The first and perhaps most important principle is this: not everything deserves your reaction. In fact, most things don't. Think about the last time someone said something that got under your skin. Maybe it was a snide comment from a coworker, a passive-aggressive remark from a family member, an insult disguised as a joke. What did you do? If you're like most people, you reacted. You defended yourself, explained yourself, or let the anger simmer inside you for hours, maybe days. Here's what Machiavelli would tell you. The moment you react emotionally to a provocation, you have already lost. Your reaction is information. It tells the other person exactly where your pressure points are, how to control your mood, and how to make you dance like a puppet on a string. The person who provoked you wins not by being right, but simply by getting a rise out of you. The powerful move is radical non-reaction, not because you don't care, but because you care too much about your own composure to throw it away over someone who doesn't deserve your energy. When you stay still while others expect you to break, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is one of the most potent forms of power there is. Next time someone tries to bait you, practice doing nothing, say nothing, change nothing about your expression, let the silence hang in the air. You will be amazed at how quickly the other person becomes uncomfortable in the very trap they set for you. Trick number 2, never explain yourself to those who won't understand. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a long, exhausting explanation, justifying your choices, your lifestyle, your decisions, only to realize that the person you're explaining yourself to had already made up their mind before you even started talking? That feeling of futility is your intuition telling you something important. Explanation is often submission in disguise. When you feel the urge to explain yourself to someone who has shown no genuine desire to understand you, ask yourself why. In most cases, the explanation isn't for them. It's for you. It's your anxiety trying to seek validation, your insecurity trying to earn approval. And in seeking that approval, you lower yourself. You signal that their judgment of you matters more than your own judgment of yourself. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who is seen to waver, who constantly justifies and backpedals, is viewed as weak. Strength, in his framework, is communicated through consistency and composure, not through words, but through action and the quiet certainty of someone who knows exactly who they are and what they want. You are not obligated to explain yourself, not your career choices, not your relationships, not your boundaries, not your past. Reserve your explanations for people who have earned them, people who come to you in good faith with genuine curiosity and respect. Everyone else gets silence and a calm, unwavering expression that says, I am who I am, and I don't need your approval to continue. Trick number 3, the power of strategic silence. In a world that rewards noise, more posts, more opinions, more content, more talking, silence has become the rarest and most powerful currency of all. Most people are terrified of silence. They rush to fill it. They talk when they have nothing to say, share when no one asked, and reveal far more about themselves than they ever intended. Machiavelli knew that words are a double-edged sword. Every word you speak is a card revealed. The more you talk, the more the other person learns about you, your fears, your desires, your weaknesses, your strategy. Silence, on the other hand, is impenetrable. You cannot be contradicted by something you never said. You cannot be manipulated by someone who doesn't know what you want. Strategic silence means speaking only when your words add genuine value. It means letting others fill the void while you listen, observe, and gather information. It means understanding that in negotiation, in conflict, in conversation, the person who speaks less often holds more power. Their words carry more weight simply because they are fewer. Practice this. In your next significant conversation, speak less than you usually would. Ask one good question and then listen. Really listen, without preparing your next response. You will learn more, reveal less, and leave a stronger impression than any carefully worded speech could have achieved. Trick number 4, ignore, don't engage. There is a distinction between ignoring someone out of emotional avoidance and ignoring someone as a deliberate, conscious strategy. The first is a reaction, running away from discomfort. The second is a choice, refusing to give something power it hasn't earned. When you engage with every critic, every insult, every petty provocation, you make them important. Your attention is currency, and whatever you give your attention to grows. Ignore your detractors completely, and they are starved of the oxygen they need to matter. Engage with them, and you breathe life into their relevance. This is one of the oldest and most effective principles in the Machiavellian playbook. The ruler who acknowledges every threat creates a dozen more. The ruler who moves forward with unshakable focus signals to everyone watching that some things are simply beneath them. Who are you giving your attention to that doesn't deserve it? Whose voice is living rent-free in your head? The coworker who undermines you? The ex who criticized you? The online stranger who left a hostile comment? Evict them. Not with confrontation, with indifference. True indifference, earned through inner clarity and self-assurance, is the most powerful message you can send. You do not exist to me in any way that matters. Trick number 5, control your emotions. Control the room. Emotions are not weaknesses. Let's be absolutely clear about that. The ability to feel deeply is one of the most human and beautiful capacities we have. But uncontrolled emotions, emotions that hijack your behavior and override your judgment, are a liability in any high-stakes situation. Machiavelli understood that the leader who could remain calm while others panicked, who could think clearly while others reacted, would almost always prevail. Emotional control is not about suppression, it is about mastery. The ability to feel what you feel and still choose your response deliberately rather than impulsively. When you are the calmest person in a tense room, something extraordinary happens. People look to you. They orient toward your stillness the way a compass needle orients toward north. You become the anchor, the reference point, the person who appears to have answers simply because you appear to have yourself together. This takes practice. It requires you to develop the gap between stimulus and response, to notice the wave of emotion rising, acknowledge it, and then choose how to act rather than simply react. Meditation, journaling, intentional breath work, all of these can help you build that gap. But the first step is simply deciding that your emotional state is something you can work with rather than something that happens to you. Trick number 6, know your worth and stop letting others drain it. There is a type of person you have certainly encountered in your life, someone who takes and gives little or nothing in return. Someone who drains your enthusiasm, your creativity, your optimism, your time. Someone who, after every interaction, leaves you feeling smaller and more exhausted than before they arrived. Machiavelli would identify these people as threats, not dramatic, sword-wielding threats, but quiet, insidious ones. Threats to your energy, your clarity, and your sense of self. And his advice would be surgical. Minimize their access to you, not out of cruelty, out of self-preservation. Recognizing your own worth is not arrogance, it is accuracy. You have a finite amount of energy, time, and attention. These are the most valuable resources you will ever possess, far more valuable than money because they cannot be earned back once spent. When you give them freely to those who do not value them, You impoverish yourself while enriching someone who doesn't deserve the investment. This trick asks you to audit your relationships and your daily interactions with honest eyes. Who lifts you? Who drains you? What habits, commitments, and obligations are feeding your growth, and which are quietly stealing from it? Then make the hard decisions that most people avoid. Not with anger, but with clear-eyed decisiveness. Trick number 7, silence. As control, strength, not weakness. We return finally to silence, but this time from a different angle. Not silence as a communication tool, but silence as an expression of inner power. As proof, demonstrated daily and consistently that you are in control of yourself. In popular culture, we are often taught that loudness equals confidence, that dominance requires volume, that winning an argument means landing the best verbal punch. But Machiavelli's greatest leaders were not always the most vocal. They were the most deliberate. They chose their moments. They never wasted themselves on battles that didn't matter. And when they did speak, when they did act, it meant something. Precisely because it wasn't constant. Silence used strategically communicates a kind of total self-sufficiency. It says, I do not need to perform for you. I do not need to prove myself to you. I exist in my own completeness, and I will engage with the world on my terms, not yours. That kind of energy is magnetic. It draws respect the way gravity draws matter, not through effort, but through the sheer weight of its presence. The person who always speaks first, who can't tolerate a moment of quiet, who fills every space with words and noise, that person is driven by need. The person who can sit in silence comfortably, who can let a conversation breathe, who chooses every word with intention, that person is driven by power. Here is what all 7 of these principles share at their core. They are all about reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your energy from those who would drain it, reclaiming your words from those who would twist them, reclaiming your reactions from those who would weaponize them, reclaiming your time from those who don't value it. Machiavelli has been misunderstood for centuries as a cynical advocate of cruelty and manipulation. But at his deepest level, his philosophy is about this. The world will take from you everything it can for as long as you allow it. The question is whether you will allow it, whether you will continue to hand over your power to every person who raises their voice, demands your justification, or challenges your peace. You don't have to live that way. You never did. Never react, never explain, just ignore, and watch how everything changes.